mortgages, George Pollard, received £230,000 of today's money from British taxpayers as compensation. In exchange, he gave up 134 enslaved people on the Caribbean island of Nevis in the 1830s. The president of Lloyd's Bank, John White, also received compensation for estates in Jamaica in 1835. And 27 former members of the Bank of England were linked to slavery in the 18th and 19th centuries, including 11 former governors. Even after Britain abolished the slave trade in 1807 and continued to profit off it, bankers just pivoted to indirect means of making money from the exploitation and trafficking of human beings. The City of London provided the finance for slave traders all around the world, and loans were one way of making money, so a British bank would loan money to a US plantation owner to buy more slaves or agricultural equipment. If you think mortgages are secured against the land you own, think again. So-called plantation mortgages, where US slave owners would borrow money from British banks, were secured against the value of the slaves they owned, not their land. The Royal Bank of Scotland offered plantation mortgages. So did Barclays. These mortgages were then bundled into bonds and sold to investors all over the world. When the US slave owners made repayments, the people who owned those bonds made a small profit. The City of London has defined British wealth for hundreds of years. Money comes in and money goes out to countries all over the world, and our status as a global power rests on our financial institutions. But the labor that built many of these institutions was enslaved. Iconic buildings like the Guildhall, the heart of the City of London, epitomise Britain's involvement with the slave trade. Between 1660 and 1690, 15 Lord Mayors of London were shareholders in the Royal African Company, which shipped more African slaves to the Americas than any other institution in the history of slavery. The statue of William Beckford Sr., twice Lord Mayor of London, still stands in the Guildhall to this day. Beckford grew rich off the toil of slaves he owned on 20,000 acres of land in Jamaica. The Royal Exchange was the heart of the City of London, where stocks were bought and traded from all over the world. It was funded by Sir William Garrett, who helped to develop the Moroccan slave trade in the 1500s, so the blood and toil of African slaves literally helped build the bricks of the City of London. Following the Black Lives Matter protests, the insurance company Lloyd's of London agreed to pay reparations to black community groups for its involvement in the slave trade. Campaigners are calling on the banks to follow suit. So when you go to withdraw cash from an ATM, remember that it was your bank that was complicit all those years ago. Slavery built the financial institutions we use today.
Shalom. But foremost, I'm going to start out by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahshua, Ba'ashem, Rak, Kadash. Salutation to the elders and apostles, GMS groups, and ones alike teaching 100% true. Shalom, Barakathum to them for the edification and knowledge, and double honors to the elders and apostles and GMS groups, and ones alike teaching 100% true. Shalom, Barakathum to them. And the foremost, again, give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahshua, Ba'ashem, Rak, Kadash. Now that video is relating to the empires of dirt, relating to banks and corporations that had ties to slavery. Empires of dirt, that's an appropriate title. Empires that were built by using dirty tactics to pretty much build their empire. So that fits appropriately. But here's a list of other names and companies that from BBC.com, Barclays, HSBC, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, New York Life, Tiffany & Company, Aetna, Brooks Brothers, USA Today, Sutherland Norfolk Railroad as well. Wachovia, AIG, which is American International Group. These are various companies that had ties to slavery, man. Slavery is the biggest grossing economic ever, historically. Trillions of dollars through slavery. These companies wouldn't be what they are without slavery, man. You know what I mean? They profit off of it. Money that was passed down, generational wealth passed down. That's how these corporations are what they are, such as the J.P. Morgans and different entities like that, through slavery, man. So they had ties to slavery. And these banks and insurance companies, they all had ties to slavery. I'm going to go to, that was just a few days relating to companies. I'm going to go to, Deuteronomy 28 real fast. It's a short video. The Lord shall, this is Deuteronomy 28:36. The Lord shall bring thee and thy kings which thou shalt set over thee into a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. So it's, it relates to these other nations that the nation of Israel are going to serve, man. This relates to slavery, man, because of their disobedience to the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahshua. So they are made to serve these nations as a consequence, as a punishment, form of punishment. I'm going to go to Deuteronomy 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee until thou be destroyed, because thou hast hearkened not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he command. That's the consequence for not obeying the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahshua. He will send these curses like a plague and a pestilence that's going to come upon the nation of Israel, and they're not going to be slack, and they're not going to have pity. They're going to be relentless in their pursuit to pretty much overtake thee. And this is a form of relating to the consequence because of not following Yahweh Bashim Yashah. This is the consequence relating to that punishment. Number 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor shew favor to the young. That's relating to the other nations, the ones you're made to be subjected to. You know, you're made to be subjected to. So they're not going to favor the young. They don't care how young you are. They're not going to favor how old you are, whether you're a senior citizen or how young you are. They're not going to have pity. They're not going to have no remorse and pity. This obviously the atrocities that happened during slavery, buck breaking, what they did to children, women, raping men, raping women. You know what I mean? So the nations had a fierce countenance, man. That means pretty much their appearance. They lack remorse. They're ruthless. They're merciless, man. That's these other nations that the Lord allow to come upon the nation of Israel regarding their punishment, regarding their disobedience to the Lord as a form of punishment. So the curses are still in effect. This is more of a spiritual bondage, man. It's not like the actual chains like it was back in the day. It's a spiritual bondage. And only can be broken by Yahweh Bashem Yashah when the Lord Yahweh sends his son Yahweh Shai to redeem his people, man. To bring back his people. Pretty much collect his people back to the Father and the Son. That's when that bondage will be broken. Now I'm going to read 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, in one end of the earth, even to other, and there shall serve other gods, which neither nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. That's what they made. That's part of the consequence. They are made to serve these other nations, to take on the custom and tradition of these other nations related to religion, ideology, philosophies, their custom and tradition, pretty much Hellenized, and even wood and stone. And that's what's happened. You know what I mean? That's what's happened in all these captivities that they made to pretty much, that's part of the consequences. 65, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee a trembling heart and a failing eyes and sorrow of mind. Put that with Micah 2 and 10. For this is not a place of your rest. You know what I mean? It relates to separately, spiritually separating yourself, relating to removing yourself from the ways of this society, man. You know what I mean? Because unless you're going to inherit that sore destruction, which is that judgment. And this is never a place of our rest, man. This is only a place of our punishment, relating to Baruch 4 and 6. For it was never made to destroy you, but to punish you, because you moved the Lord to wrath. You know what I mean? You moved the Lord. You moved the Lord to wrath. You know, the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yashah to wrath, because ultimately the nation of Israel disobeyed the Lord. They didn't take heed to follow and continue following the statute and commandments as they supposed to. I'm going to go to 67. Let's read it quick. In the morning thou shalt say, would Yahweh it were evening, and at evening thou shalt say, would Yahweh it were morning, for the fear of thy heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt flee. Pretty much not knowing day and night, not knowing what's going on, pretty much. 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. That's what happened. He brought into ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more. And there ye shall be sold into your enemies for bondsmen, bondswoman, and no man shall buy you. And that's captivity, that's slavery, and that's bondage, man. Let me see if I can find another verse I wanted to see if I can get it. Ecclesiastes 10 and 6. I'm going to read 7, 10 and 7. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place. So the rich sit in a low place relates to the nation of Israel, man. The reason why they sit in a low place, because ultimately they're disobedience to their power, Yahweh B'Shem Yashah. You know? And I have seen servants upon horses, and the princes walking as servants upon the earth. So the horses represent power. The horses, so they were once kings and princes, but now because of their low estate, they're made to be servants, man. And the ones who are on the horses that represent power, are the other nations that pretty much are set over them. And the nation of Israel forced to comply and to, obey them as a part of the curse, as part of the curses, and a part of the punishment by Yahweh B'Shem Yashah ultimately. So folly set in great dignity relating to their foolishness, man. You know what I mean? Their sins and their iniquities causing them to be in a low state, man. That's ultimately because their disobedience and rebellion, continuous rebellion against the Lord. And that being said, this was something short relating to that article, the video, Empires of Dirt, relating to banks that had connection with slavery ties. That being said, I'm going to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahshua, Ba'ashem Rakadesh, the water for listening. And thanks. I hope it benefit. Give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahshua, Ba'ashem Rakadesh, the water shalom, thanks.